Welcome to the Streets and People podcast presented by Get Around Cabo Car Free. Get Around Cabo Car Free is a volunteer community movement advocating for more transport options for people who can't drive in Caboolture and Morayfield in Queensland. In today's podcast, we'll be covering one of these three broad topics. It might be Road Rules 360, where we discuss Queensland's road rules, the legislation, the design for people walking, biking, in wheelchairs or on a scooter. It might be Not Everyone Drives, where we chat with people whose transport options don't include a car in a car-dependent society. And it might be People and Projects, where our conversations are with people working on a specific aspect of inclusive transportation. This morning, we are doing one of our Not Everyone Drives episodes, and I am here with Natalie. We are on Gubbi Gubbi country. Natalie, I know you because we had a brief exchange on Facebook, and you said you didn't drive and you use the bus service everywhere. So I thought it'd be really cool to be able to talk about your experience of the bus service. We're in Morayfield. Yeah. So you don't drive? No. So you've never driven?
No, I've just got a bit of anxiety around learning to drive. So yeah, most of the time I've just walked or caught the bus.
Yeah, right. You're a big walker because you can't get the bus here. It's not very easy.
Yeah, since moving to Morayfield, I found the bus service is just a bit inconvenient and
You were somewhere else before. Where were you before?
I used to live in New South Wales. Sort of before I moved, they introduced the card system where you needed to, down there it's called the Opal system, here it's called GoCard. And I just found that really inconvenient from the old system where you used to just, have a bit of cash in your bag and get on a bus whenever you next wanted to go somewhere. But now it's so much planning in getting public transport that it makes it a bit inconvenient.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point because I think they want to go more and more cashless.
Yeah.
So you're going, well, this is actually not helpful. So what is problematic about the GoCard?
Getting a GoCard isn't so simple. Basically, I've got to walk to where I would get the bus to in the first place to get a GoCard because they don't just sell them randomly down at your local shop, which, if they sold them at every supermarket, it might be a little bit easier. But if you've got to walk all the way into the train station where you're going to be getting off anyway, then I might as well just get on my 2 feet and walk. So it makes it really inconvenient that you've got to go all the way into town to actually get that GoCard, and then to top it up, and then before it expires, you've got to go in there and reactivate it. So
yeah, it's an interesting thing. Like, why don't the supermarkets have that facility?
They used to at the newsagents, and I don't know why they don't now, but it's still, that was only one place in Morayfield, so if it was all your local shops sold them, it might make it a little bit easier. But I also think they just need to introduce, the debit card system where you can use your debit card and still use your concession card or whatever, childcare or whatever it is that goes with your
seniors.
Yes.
It's not always easy, and if you're certainly on modest means, it makes it super inconvenient. Well, you might not want to use it all the time.
Exactly, because if you're only getting one trip, that trip might only cost $3-4, and that might be what you've got for that trip left over. But instead, you've got to go and get a GoCard, and then it's $5 to activate that, $10. Your minimum amount is about $20. So it ends up being about $30 in total that you're paying for this one GoCard to just get out your door. Yeah. Which is a bit annoying. It's a bit frustrating because back in the day with the cash system, like I said, you could just grab whatever bits of change you had laying around and make that one trip. Yeah. So it is a bit frustrating that, and if we implemented the debit card, then people could only just pay for their one trip that they're getting that time, And fair enough if you do it regularly and you want to save on, that long-term trips. If you're only getting it every so often, it's quite inconvenient, and some people will only get the bus every 6 months or whatever, and then their card's not active anymore.
So let me see if I've got this right. You have to get a card. You have to load up, I think it's a $10 deposit. They always have the minimum.
Yeah, $10 or $20. I'm not sure because it's been a while.
Yeah, and then you put $20 on, so you're already up for $30 before you've started.
About that, yeah. So it normally works out to be around that before you've even taken a trip. And like I said, a trip from here into town would only be about under $3. So
the only place to recharge it is the station. There used to be places that you could do it, but my guess is that because the bus service isn't so good, they go everywhere and they don't come enough. Nobody uses the bus service. So I spend my life talking to people about public transport and walking and riding a bike and everything, and people go, I don't use the bus service.
Yeah.
And I think it's because what happens is when you have a really bad bus service,
Yeah.
it means that all the shops that could have that GoCard recharge facility don't make enough money to be able to do that. And they have to train staff. And
well, a lot of the services around here don't go directly from one place to another. They might go through another suburb before you're getting into the place that you want to get into. So you're going all around the countryside, or you've got to get off halfway and change and get on another bus. So it can be quite frustrating when something's like a 5-minute trip that takes 45 minutes to get there.
That's actually why I started Get Around, because I got on the bus from up at Caboolture and I just wanted to go to Morayfield Shopping Centre. And if you're in a car, it's 10 minutes. If you ride a bike, it's 20 minutes. If you go by bus, it's 40 minutes. And then I wanted to get to the other end of Morayfield Road, and I had to wait 25 minutes at Morayfield Shopping Centre to get the bus. My sense is that people who design these don't use the system.
That's what I think, They obviously don't use the system, because if they did, they'd realise how frustrating it is from start to go just to get somewhere. Because, I mean, when your GoCard is costing more than what it probably would cost in even petrol to begin with, and not everyone's doing an every single day trip. If I could put $10 petrol in a car and get from 5 minutes down the road, why would I want to put $30 on my GoCard?
That's a really interesting point. So they've done a lot of stuff about transportation and bicycle paths, and it's always been organised around men's trips. So you might go to the train station, get a train from, say, Caboolture Station or Morayfield Station and into Brisbane, and then you come back at the end of the day, and then you come out here. Now, what you're saying is that for the small little journeys around here, not even the GoCard works for people who just have small trips.
Or don't travel very often.
That's right. And that's more the type of journeys that women will make, because they might go, oh, one day you're over here, one day you're over there.
But they should have the option of either or. So if you want to use your debit card with your concession card, because they were thinking about introducing that, but not introducing it with people's pension cards, which defeats the purpose, because people still want to use their concession that they're entitled to. So, you know, they should have that option. Or if you're a regular traveller and you want to do the GoCard because it works out cheaper in the long run, then do that. But we're not being given any option.
It does seem, I wonder if, because do you get a card or something like that with your Centrelink? If you've got a pension card, do you have like a plastic card?
You've got a card, or you've got the digital card on your online, on your MyGov. Either one you could show getting on a bus. But the bus drivers don't actually do anything other than drive now. They don't take tickets. Their job is just to drive from A to B now.
I was wondering if you could actually, on your Centrelink card, put money on that and then use that instead of using a GoCard. It was just a crazy idea. I'm sort of full of crazy ideas.
I mean, there needs to be some thought put into things, and it needs to be thought put in by people that probably use the service.
Definitely. So what sort of thoughts do you have? Obviously, bus services that come and go regularly.
So then I think some alternate routes. I get there's the ones that, you know, will go all around the place and stop many stops. But like with trains, how they're express routes, we should have some express buses as well that just go from A to B straight there without stopping at 50 different stops and 50 different suburbs to get there. It's a different option where we can't bypass some of the other stops, just like you do with trains. You've got an express route and one that goes all around the city or whatever, you know, so that would just make a little bit more sense.
And what other ideas do you have about maybe the payment system, so the GoCard?
Adding in the fact that you could, an alternate where you could pay with your debit card and use your entitlement for concession as well. So just showing the driver your concession, and then he puts in whatever fare you need to pay and tap it with your debit card.
So the GoCard, you don't have like a different colour, because I think Opal cars in New South Wales.
Yeah, you do have a different one.
You have a different colour, don't you? And it's
they've got the child ones, and then they've got the pension ones, and then just normal adult fare. So same process. If you got on and showed, say you wrote child, just like they used to with your cash, he'd put in whatever price it was and you'd pay him instead tapping your debit card.
That's really good. I was really surprised at how far apart the bus stops are.
So some areas they're pretty good, other areas it is quite far and few between. I've lived on the other side of Morayfield. You know, there was school bus services, but they hadn't implemented bus services. You had to walk all the way to the train station to get anywhere, which was probably about a 35-minute walk anyway. So there's still some new estates and things where they haven't implemented bus services yet. They haven't really thought about the timing of them either. So
if we had really safe bicycle lanes, would you consider ever riding a bike to make those 35-minute journeys just a little bit quicker?
Me personally, I'm not a bike rider.
Yeah.
I don't really like things with wheels.
Okay, that's fine. So this is really good because people make the assumption, oh, well, if you've got good bike paths, well, they can just cycle.
Not everyone can. And we do have a lot of people in, like, you know, this suburb that might have disabilities and things, physically impaired people and people that are just low socioeconomic sort of area where they can't afford a bicycle or they can't afford a scooter or whatever it may be. So it's not just that. A lot of people are just relying on walking because that's all that they can do physically, or they use mobile scooters, or they just don't have the funds to buy anything else, you know.
Yeah, and then some people, I know a guy and he has some eye problem.
Yeah.
So he's perfectly able to walk, but he can't ride a bike, he can't drive, he can't be on a scooter. That's just not possible for him. So he ended up leaving this area and having to move right into Brisbane to make sure that he could just be able to do something, get out of the house.
And I know personally a lot of people, especially youth, that are just not going anywhere. They're isolating themselves. They don't have a GoCard just sitting there in their wallet. So, you know, anytime an idea might pop into their head, oh, I might go here, such and such place today, or to the beach or here or wherever. You know, if you don't have that GoCard handy already, then it just makes the whole trip like, oh, I'd have to walk all the way to the station. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's that barrier to being able to get out and do things.
Most people now probably have a phone.
Yeah.
So would you skip the GoCard thing and just go straight to a phone? Could you have an app on your phone?
Well, that would be an idea too, where you could just top it up with your debit card and link your concession card to it or something like that, you know, some sort of system, and then just tap it when you got on or show it to the driver or whatever, you know. There needs to be some other thought put into it, because I know plenty of people that are socially isolated that are not going to, you know, or even just community activities, because something might show up, you know, on Facebook, oh, there's a community day today, oh, well, I can't get there. So, you know, a lot of people just don't go.
I know that one, and that's something that I've been sort of trying to highlight, or they say, oh, you can come, parking is here, and they never talk about the bus route. We're trying to be environmental, and I'm not saying, you know, anything about anything, but if you're trying to do the environmental thing, then could you at least talk about public transport options?
Yeah.
You know, that always surprises me, and that's put on by council.
And in a particular area that I did live in, New South Wales, there was also a courtesy bus from the shopping centre into certain suburbs or whatever. So, you know, from weekends or weekday service or whatever, it wasn't all the time. It was only a few services a day, but that's another option that, you know, someone in government could think about implementing. It would help out a lot, especially in this area. We are in the middle of a cost of living crisis, so a lot of people can't afford things. So, you know, giving people some options and, you know, a bit of a boost to be able to then go and engage in things that they might want to engage in.
So I had this idea of maybe having lots of minibuses that go quite short distances, might go, say, from Caboolture to Morayfield to wherever.
Yeah.
Just but quite close to the shops, just to pick up the most people, and then you can have these big bus service.
Yeah.
And I thought, if you got the caseworkers from the NDIS, who maybe didn't want to be doing casework anymore, but still had that great social skills, really good with people who, you know, patient and caring, working on the bus, driving the bus. What do you think about that as an idea?
There'd be other sort of services like disability services and things like that could probably, you know, people could volunteer or people, whatever as well. So I think it's a good idea. And having a direct route to places would be a good idea as well. Yeah,
this is the thing that you're really rethinking. What does it mean to have a GoCard and the financial burden of GoCards for people who are on low incomes? Also, to make it more convenient to be able to use the bus service. So you might not have it 400 metres from home, But if you had one bus, you could have a shuttle that just went round and round and round a particular route, and it came every, I don't know, half hour, 20 minutes, and it just went round and round. You tapped on, tapped off, tapped on, tapped off, and you just did that every time.
Yeah, like I said, similar to the thing with trains. You've got your long service and you've got your express service. So why not implement that? Yeah. Especially since we're such a large volume of people in this area, like a lot of people that want to get around and a lot of people that don't drive.
All right, so you've got a magic wand. I here give you a magic wand.
Yeah.
And you can do anything you like with the bus service, public transport, the infrastructure, murals, flowers, veggie patch, whatever. You just knock yourself out with your kid, because you've got kids, haven't you?
Yeah.
Anything at all that you think, well, if I had a magic wand and I could just tap it, like wave my magic wand, what sort of things would you like to put in place?
One thing that I would say would be a community bus that people can get that don't have money. So I think that's much needed in this area. So a free bus service for people, whether it be to get to appointments, into town, whatever. I think that's much needed. It doesn't have to run all day long as much as because obviously they're going to lose business on the bus service if that was a regular every 20-minute service. But an option for people, even if it ran once a week or twice a week or something like that, that would be fantastic, because we are in the cost of living crisis at the moment, and this area, there are a lot of people that are struggling. I think that would be good, and it would get people out. And obviously to fix the GoCard thing, like have something on your phone where you can just pay for whatever ticket you want for that day and add your concession card to it, or whatever, some sort of different system.
And what about, because you obviously walk around a lot of the time, so from here where we are, how long does it take for you to walk to Morayfield shopping centre? To
Morayfield shops, it's not too bad. That's only probably 10-15 minute walk. To walk into Caboolture, it takes you a good 40 minutes or so. So probably more shortcut, from Caboolture South, there are things like the Arboretum where you can walk through on that bridge and get through. Maybe something like that implemented here, where a shortcut from bridge or underground, something like that where we could cut through would be good for people that are riding, walking, whatever that scootering or whatever.
And what about things like benches and shade, and what do you think of the bus stops? How they're done?
They're terrible. You can just get sunburnt sitting there. Look, none of them have. I haven't seen bins to put rubbish in, for starters. There's normally no light protection from the sun. There's never any trees or anything like that. So, even at parks, how they've got free drinking fountains and things, that would be really great if they could implement them near bus stops as well. Because sometimes by the time you've walked a long way to get there, it's, in this heat in Queensland, it's pretty bad.
And what about decoration of bus stops?
I don't think there's really much point in doing that around here with the youth, because you see a lot of bus stops that get smashed up by youth. There's a lot of youth crime.
What are some ideas to stop youth breaking all those bus stops, or doing vandalising and graffiti? And do you have any kind of ideas that if they just did that, then I reckon they'd be less likely to do those things?
If they implemented more free activities for youth and children, from pre-adolescence to adulthood in this area, it'd be fantastic. Because I know from looking for my own children that even activities like boxing or PCYC activities and things, registration started from $200 onwards. And when you've got a couple of kids there, it can be hard.
And you're on modest means.
Yeah. So, that would be, implement some free activity for youth around here, and it might change a lot of things.
And would that just be during the school holidays, or would it be
after school activities, weekend activities or school holiday thing? It wouldn't be too hard to, set up a hall with some volunteers and people that could do things like karate, football, boxing, things that dancing, whatever got kids out and about. And a lot of them want to do stuff. Their parents can't afford it. So they just get out and run amok.
Do you see anything different between what councils provide for, say, boys and what they provide for girls? Have you noticed that? You haven't?
Not really. No, I see the difference in what they provide for sort of primary school and under, and early intervention. And there's nothing. Once they get to the end of primary school age and then youth age, it's just left up to the parents.
Yeah, and
or the school system, or the criminal system.
are there any organisations that are doing stuff with youth that have a lot to do with that age group that maybe they could extend something?
There's always youth clubs and youth like mental health services and things like that, but they rely on donations or government funding.
Yeah.
And government will only provide a certain amount of funding for those services. But then everyone complains when all these youth go out there and commit crime or don't go to school or run away from home or whatever they may be doing. I mean, and I've heard from a lot of them, including my own children and their friends, a lot of them just want a place that they can go and let off a lot of that steam. So, you know, free boxing activities or free football, whatever it may be that they want to go and do, or activities for girls even, like, you know, dancing or singing or something that they could go and do that didn't charge the parents, you know, more than their weekly food grocery bill to start with, you know.
And how do you get your groceries? Do you order online and they get delivered?
Sometimes I order them online. In between, I walk and I just lug back everything that I can by hand.
Do you have a shopping trolley, or how does that work? Do you just do it? Do you just have
what I can carry back by hand? A lot of the time, my friend will drive me. I'll be lucky enough that she'll give me a lift back with my groceries. But in between, you know, fortnightly, I just get a Coles delivered.
Yeah, there isn't that much tree coverage here in this estate, your lovely estate that you're living in. That's lovely. But once you're out on some of the streets and on Morayfield Road is one of my pet hate roads.
Yeah.
It's a horrible, scary road.
Yeah.
It doesn't have much
And
shade.
it is to walk on too. You get parts where there's path, then there's construction, and then there's path again, and then there's no path. And that can be quite daunting, especially when walking with young children. And then there's not a lot of shade either. So you tend to, you know, by the time you're getting home, you're sweating it up. We're in Queensland. There should be shade.
Yeah, so in some countries they have these shaded footpaths that it's like
a shade cloth
like
thing.
the whole way, and
yeah.
you've got everything under the whole way there.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a good idea. And like I say, if you had a direct route, like the arbitoriums, where you've got a direct route from one place to another, shortcut, and that was shaded and it was an actual path, and, you know, cyclists would be on it, people walking, it would probably make people's walk a little bit more pleasurable.
Morayfield Road is just a horrible place.
Yeah.
Cars go really quickly.
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas about what would you like to see Morayfield Road, if it were made nicer, more friendly for pedestrians? What ideas would you have for making that?
Well, something secluded just for walkers, you know, so gated or something like, you know, secluded all the way down.
Yeah.
That was just for walkers so that they couldn't, you know, get run over or whatever, you know.
You know how you've got park benches, they're quite solid, they've got concrete kind of bollards.
Yeah.
And you've got those wooden
like
benches.
a bollard sort of thing, system or something.
So if you had your back to the road, so that would stop the cars if they pranged into it.
Yeah.
That would stop them, and it would also start to give them a bit of, you know, make them a bit more conscious, maybe if they were close to the edge, to go a little bit more slowly. So you were facing the footpath. That would give you a place to rest for a minute. Yeah. That would be a kind of a bollard. So you could do a whole lot of things to make it an interesting place. So you could have a tree in one place. You
and
could
some shade.
A bench.
Yeah.
You could put a bubbler. So maybe a street light.
Yeah.
You could do
Well,
it.
that would be another implementation, especially for people walking at night, because it can be unsafe around here at night. So yeah, having some street lights along there too for the walkers.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, isn't it? Yeah. And what about slowing down cars? Do you have any ideas about how busy is that road in the morning? Are all the lanes used? Do they backed up, or is it sort of...
It's pretty bad at peak hour, morning and afternoon. I've been here for the last couple of years. Going back a few years, it was less traffic. There are more people moving here. Nobody's thought about what that means then. As far as housing and road structure, no one's thought about it. Yeah. We've just kept on allowing people to move here. I mean, we've got homeless people on every corner and nowhere to put them. Yeah. You know what I mean? We've got so many thousands upon thousands of people waiting on public housing. Nowhere to put them. Yeah. We've got cars banked up on the roads. Nowhere for them to go because there's no more streets, roads being built. So, I mean, no one's thought about it. We're just allowing more and more and more without building the infrastructure around it.
Yeah, there's this term called induced demand. So build it and they'll come. You make it easy for people, then more people will use it. It's simple marketing economics stuff. If you think, okay, well, I'll build another lane, so that makes it better, that lasts about 2 years maximum. So you can't keep building more roads. In the US, they're actually starting to pull down all their interstate freeways, and they're looking at other ways because the infrastructure is now decrepit and they're falling down. So they're going, well, maybe we can do something else with that space. Yeah, so start to use maybe different types of transport and things like that.
Yeah.
So you moved up here a couple of years ago. You didn't know the way around. How did you find out about with the transport and the bus service, and what was that like in that journey of discovery?
Yeah. So I found the New South Wales system a lot easier, a lot quicker to get around, to be honest. I find that here it takes probably twice the time to get from A to B, somewhere simple, like just to go somewhere simply. It takes about twice the amount of time. And the way that I discovered it was I actually let my kids in their youth go out, and they travelled around and just explored all the bus, went basically nowhere for the day, but just travelled all around just to get used to the area, because I was lost. Directionally, I was lost, and where to go and what stop to get on and where to get off, and youth have a good way of finding it.
So it sounds like if you arrived here, and we've got a lot of people coming up here. I mean, we only moved up here 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago. Basically, there's no information about the public transport system, how to use it, where to go. Because I know I looked at the Caboolture Bus Lines bus service, that website, and you go...
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
It's really... What is that? I've never seen a bus website.
And if you don't know, I mean, we've got Caboolture West and Caboolture North. Like, I don't know where's... It's confusing.
It's super confusing.
Yeah, and you've got buses that start out in Morayfield and end up at Belmere, and like, you're like, why? I was wanting to go to Caboolture. Like,
It's so confusing. I was talking with a bus driver, so I want to go down to Belmere Road or Morayfield, and he said, no, you can't go that way, it's the next one you want. We've all got the same number and we go different routes.
Yeah.
And you go, how can I possibly understand? And it's using the same bus stop. Instead of using, if you go, I want to be at a different direction, use a different bus stop, because then I know which way I'm going. But the same bus with the same number I'm going, and just the destination.
Yeah, and the last place that I lived at Caboolture South. To go to Morayfield, you actually went on the other side of the road, not facing the direction going to Morayfield. I was so confused. Like, we actually got on the bus service a few times and ended up in the wrong place.
It's not intuitive.
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying. It's not intuitive at all. And
there's no signage. Like, they do, well, some of them do have, but a lot of them have been ripped down. They're not maintained.
Yeah, so you almost need, at the bus stop, some little sign which says, buses to this place, these are the numbers you go, and this is the bus stops you go to, and they come every 30 minutes or every half hour or whatever. So just a basic thing. So this is what I love about these conversations, because I go, people who use the service have such great ideas. And we know what we need. But it's so hard to try and get anything into TransLink or the TMR. You get these kind of letters back. Or it's difficult.
My number one is change that GoCard system.
Yeah.
Have it be so that you can pay whenever you want to get on with your debit card, and use your concession as well, or an app.
Yeah. I'm going to say something a bit unpopular. I've started to look at transportation options as a class thing. So by that I mean a middle class person puts $30 on it.
Well, they don't think about it.
They don't think about it. But if you're on a pension...
Yeah, and you've got $20 left to live on for the week.
Yeah. This is about... I don't know how else to call it other than class, because that's the standard way we look at it.
I know, and it's true. It is true. Because even now, I'm relying on a friend to get me to my daughter's school every single day. You know, I'm just lucky enough to have a mum friend that is like, I will drive you. I will come past and I will drive you, because I can't afford to get the bus every single day with her. And she's not old enough to get on by herself. She's got a bus pass, but I don't have anything. So I need to pay to get on every single day with her. And I can't afford that. I've got to toss that up. Well, do I need bread and milk for the rest of the week? Or do I want to go get a GoCard? That's how it is for most, people that are on pensions or that can't afford, or low incomes or...
Absolutely. Gee, it's great to talk with you. It's so good. I'm so pleased we met.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up there.
Yeah.
What else? Final words? Your absolute. So the GoCard, just
Yeah.
get that changed to debit cards with concession.
Yeah.
What else? What are some other things?
I think we've covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a fantastic conversation. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Thank
I'm
you
really
for getting my input.
Look, the more the merrier. I'm super delighted with having had this opportunity to come by. I'm very honoured that you gave us the opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for enjoying Streets and People, presented by Get Around Cabo Car Free. We publish our podcast regularly at the usual places and on our website, where you can find out more about us. getaroundcabocarfree.com.au. That's www.getaround, get around, that's pretty straightforward. Cabo, C-A-B-O, that's short for Caboolture. Car Free, C-A-R-F-R-E-E. There's no hyphen in that. .com.au. Our theme music is The Thief on AM Sound, which is just like our cars on our streets, always stealing the space. So let's stop that thief.